Group C, Dark, Special, GuMiho, Creator, Africa TV, Freak Up Studio, Live, 2023, GSL Season 2.
And we're back. GuMiho versus Creator is coming up. Now, this is a rematch from a very close series that we already had here with these two players. Dark has survived and Special has been knocked out. And that means after we're done with this best of 3, we just have one more group left here, Group D, for the round of 16 before we move to the next step of our tournament.
Yeah, one more Terran or one more Protoss will be joining the rest of our gamers in the top 8. GuMiho looking to be in really good form. I gotta say, as the day has gone on here in Group C, it feels like he's playing better and better every single match. I mean, Special, he took a game off of Dark. He looked fantastic earlier on, but GuMiho just seemingly on another level. I wonder if that's going to carry over now into TVP here against Creator.
It's a good question. You know, Creator as well. That was a series that really could have gone either way. And we did have that weird battle carrier tech game that ended with battlecruisers winning. I don't know.
Yeah, that's
if we're gonna have anything like that again ever.
I hope not.
I hope not.
It kind of feels like something where that you just know the outcome going into it.
You do it, you go, that's the answer. Got it.
2023 GSL Season 2. GuMiho. Club NV, Creator.
A lot of Creator fans here in the audience.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much the mics in the arena picked that up, but a lot of love for Creator from the fans.
It should have picked it up. I'm sure they heard it at home, but it's very cool, you know. A lot of support. I mean, it's kind of hard to not be a fan and to not root for him. And that's not to take away from what a great player GuMiho is either, by the way, but, you know.
Creator just wears his heart on his sleeve, and he's so passionate.
Yeah, you know, a lot of these really emotional players, I mean, people really relate to it. It resonates with people, and I think we can all relate to just wanting, you know, to achieve something, whatever our goals are that we set out to do. So, yeah, it's hard to not root for the guy and, you know, hope that he can maybe take this GSL as we go into yet another year here of that.
Well, opening's looking fairly standard here. Creator with this probe just going to be coming into the main base. I was wondering for a moment whether he would opt to try and go for maybe a proxy gateway or something about that speed, but instead just going to see the SCV here at the natural expansion for GuMiho and do his best to delay the production of that. Little does you know, GuMiho actually just dropped the command center in the main. That's nice. I mean, GuMiho would have liked to have that probably on the low ground with this SCV going down. And you think about the time the command center's lifting and then flying over. It's basically like an SCV kill, right?
Yeah, it is.
It's lost production time.
It's one of these little victories that could slow them down in a game that's so much about just building up momentum. So, I mean, we got to get a very good idea of how these guys approach PvT. And I don't think we're anywhere near close to being done with seeing the rest of the ideas that they have here.
Yeah, I like the way the meta is developing, especially with the earlier storm openings. And wow, Marauder coming out from GuMiho. That factory also out of vision for Creator, so he doesn't know what the tech follow-up should be.
And, you know, with the scout that we had there from Creator, it doesn't tell him anything, right?
Yeah, he sees the tech lab, and he might be scratching his head about that a little bit. Like,
Nice
you're not going to
save.
be getting combat shield or stim this early, right? So are you making a Marauder?
Yeah, what exactly is going on here? So that Marauder's going to come out. He's getting a second one here. And, yeah, I mean, I'm curious. How many more is he going to get, and where's he going to go with them?
And a Widow Mine as well. I was wondering if we're going to see, like, Marauder Hellbat or something to that effect here, which I'm glad we aren't.
I think it's going to be some kind of a drop.
I think so, too.
And this is, again, one of these kind of, you know, obtuse GuMiho builds.
Yeah, this is very cool. I like this.
What Creator's doing is kind of pushing up to you know, the standard tech that we've seen so many times before. He's getting 3 gateways, he's getting Stalker Blink. Koreans tend to believe that you need to expand after this. There are some ideas in the European and NASC scene that, like, it's still okay to do the 4-gate pressure build.
Right. Yeah, the 4-gate build, especially in the West, has become a lot less all-in. Oh, this Reaper's going down, I think. Shade should be able to get it. Yeah, Koreans, you almost never see them go for 4-gate blink pressure, which surprises me because you'll often see these European Protosses go for that build and find good damage with it. Yeah. Relatively consistently, too. And they're able to macro out of it as well.
It does seem like the Korean mindset is to try to get up as close to doing that kind of damage and then know exactly how to, like, dial it back and go macro up and get further ahead like that. But, you know, I mean, we're really at the point where, you know, so many of these European players can hang with the very best Koreans, you know. The divide is not so drastic anymore.
The Creator now seeing these 2 Marauders and probably scratching his head a little bit, wondering exactly what that is about. Of course, no concussive on those Marauders either yet. So that is able to get away. Not too much trouble, and, you know, we were anticipating a drop or maybe, you know, Marauders walking into the natural expansion while Widow Mind's head into the main base, but GuMiho just content to macro with this in kind of a funky way back at home. I mean, he's getting his engineering base set up right now. He hasn't really moved out across the map except to kind of feign a Widow Mind drop a little bit. Interesting opening.
Yeah, it's funny, you know, when you see the different set of units coming out, you at least in my mind, I don't know about you, State, but I always think, like, okay, well, there's going to be some kind of an attack then, right? If you're getting a different composition. And maybe we're going to see that attack now. It's just later than we thought. But here we go. Led with the Cyclone. And by the way, we've got Marauders, but we don't have Concussive Shell yet.
Yeah,
which is important to note.
It should be queued up after Stimpack. I would be surprised if GuMiho decided to continue to delay that.
Now, he's going to come in here with these Stalkers. There's really not a whole lot that GuMiho can do with this. So SCVs are going to be killed. But he's going to have to also recall back home. Dude, this pylon, this is a real Achilles heel.
Yeah, this pylon's powering both the robotics facility and both gateways here in the natural expansion. So a lot of production now offline here for Creator. Question is, does he have enough on the ground to actually deal with this as Dim's coming in? I mean, Blink is done. Warp Prism also trying to do some control tricks here, and eventually, I mean, this bio will get cleaned up, but at the cost of basically an entire mineral line and a ton of production time on all these units. 13 probes in total going down. I mean, that hurts too, because Creator, he had to recall the Warp Prism that was in GuMiho's base, getting that damage done to survive that attack. Otherwise, he would have just died. So at the end of the day, it was only a couple of SCVs that were going down, despite GuMiho really being caught off guard against that drop.
Yeah, I mean, let's see if there's any way to move back across the map and try to do his own damage. There is some Widow Mines. There is a decent number of infantry here as well. He does do a nice little dodge there.
Widow Mines get dodged. Creator doing a 4th expansion relatively quickly here to try to make up lost ground economically.
Now, the Concussive Shell is about to finish, and that's where it gets a lot more dangerous for these Stalkers to be out because they can't dance endlessly. Really good control here from GuMiho as well.
Yeah, 4th Nexus can be finishing up in just a minute. More gateways being powered here. As looking at the production tab, it seems like Creator is just content to sit on gateway tech for, you know, the foreseeable future right now. He's just pumping Immortals out. He's rebuilding that Warp Prism that was lost during the drop, and now a 4 medevac drop coming in. But wow, Creator with the Yihan timing. I mean, that pylon spots it just perfectly.
And it does seem like Creator, you know, he did still lose a lot of workers back there. He's caught up finally. But he does seem to be back on his feet. I mean, that 4th base is going to finish. GuMiho's 3rd feels a little bit later than it would ideally be. I guess we got to see now, is there going to be another push that GuMiho can come back out here with? The Protoss army is getting sophisticated, but I wouldn't say it's quite there yet.
No, it's just gateway units with a couple of Immortals, no Forge upgrades, no Robotics Bay units. Actually, 1 Immortal, in fact. I thought we at least had 2 on the map. And at least Charge is done for Creator, so that makes this a little bit easier to deal with, but there's going to be a large window while Creator is trying to transition into getting his Forge upgrades, into getting his True Robotics Colossus production underway that's going to be very scary should GuMiho decide to push.
So he's going to come up in towards the main. Doesn't look like these Zealots are going to get a whole lot done. It might have been a little bit better for a Creator to wait until, you know, the Terran army's leaving or something like that and try to force that back, because now it's, you know, it's just going to be back. The War Prism's going to be back in that area.
Oh, I don't think Creator is looking at this, Tasteless.
Oh, dude.
Oh, wow.
Oh!
Now, these drops are a problem here for Creator. Luckily, only 4 probes going down to the main base.
Oh, what is this funny moment? There's like a set of units here with no medevacs around it. It seemed like it was almost clicked through the map. Yeah, he had half his army at the top, half his army at the bottom. This is getting actually to be a very weird game.
Yeah, it's quickly getting very chaotic.
A little bit of sloppiness on both sides, to be honest.
I mean, this happens when you have Widowmine drops coming down on your side of the map, and there's also a Warp Prism in the Terran base. Trying to multitask this perfectly can be a challenge, even at the pro level. And Creator, you know, he's done a very good job during all of this of buying enough time. Oh, this SCV is so funny. We'll get taken out here by the, or Zealot, excuse me, does get taken out there by the SCVs, but Creator's done a fantastic job of buying enough time to actually get Colossus production underway. I mean, we talked about this window where, you know, he really only has gateway units with no Forge upgrades, and how scary that is for Creator should GuMiho decide to push. But, you know, now GuMiho's moving across the map. Creator already has his first Colossus out. More robotics units are underway. Yes, the situation, it still is going to be a threatening attack, but Creator has a lot more tools in his belt to actually deal with this one this time. And oh my goodness, is he going into the main?
Yeah, he is.
Oh no, the Stalkers just moved down into the natural.
And this means everything's going to get to unload. There's going to be a big recall here, but I mean, this is a really good position for the Terran.
Yeah, GuMiho stimming up. In the meantime, he is attacking that 4th base here of Creator. His force fields are really good, really amplifying the damage by both the Zealots and the Colossus, so GuMiho is going to evac this location.
But he's able to pick up with most of that. He can come in here. He's also denying mining there. Wow, dude, I could barely keep up with everything GuMiho's doing.
Yeah, the Liberator at the 3rd base is huge. The mineral income for Creator is really lackluster right now because so many probes have been idle, not only at the 3rd, but also at the 4th base, as Liberator eventually will get cleaned up. But GuMiho, despite having a relatively bad trade in the main base of Creator, bought himself a lot of idle time, got 14 probe kills for his trouble, and got out with, I think, almost every medevac alive. So at the end of the day, very good trade for GuMiho, all things considered. Creator now getting +1 armor. Only 1 Forge, I think, still. And Dark Shrine is going to be the tech of choice, so he's going to try and do some counter damage on GuMiho's side of the map.
You know, it's one of these moments where it can feel like, you know, maybe the Protoss is hanging on until suddenly they're not.
Especially with Ghosts on the field like this.
Yeah. And he's going to come through right here. Really good EMPs. You really couldn't have asked to have a better EMP than that. I think he still has 1 or 2 more available here.
Yeah, that EMP was absolutely money. Only 2 Vikings, though.
That Colossus at the far right, it was able to just be in range of the battery. Well, I thought maybe that would allow him to kind of pull through, but you know, you see Creator advance even a little bit more, and suddenly, you know, so many parts of the army are chunked off again.
Yeah, there's very little front line for this army. Creator thought he could blink forward and kind of bully GuMiho away from that position, but GuMiho wisely recognizes that he can just tank the Colossus shots and get a lot of damage on those Stalkers, and wow, this angle here makes the space so painful. 4 more probes getting taken out, more idle time. Dark Shrine still not yet done, I think, or, oh, Creator just doesn't have any gas. I guarantee you he wishes those Zealots right now were Dark Templar being warped in on the other side of the map.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Unfortunately, Creator, look, he might not be killed off, but it's starting to kind of look like that more and more, right? Like, you're just seeing these huge swaths of units come out. Keep in mind that with Protoss, I mean, they never heal their HP, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, even the units that survive, they're a little bit squishier.
Dark Templar does spot this force moving down, and wow, GuMiho's army is really big, so I thought that was like the main force, but there's 2 of them. So Creator now with a nice army split. GuMiho, though, no stranger to situations like this. These 2 Colossi dangerously alone, only 1 Stalker and a handful of Zealots supporting them. As GuMiho just continues to maneuver across the map, he knows that Creator's on these 4 bases, and it's kind of a hard position to break into without a sizable Viking count, still only 2. He's playing it very timidly, but I think he can afford to do this because GuMiho, he is scaling so well right now, and his economy also is very powerful. 20 supply ahead of Creator, staying even on workers, despite losing those SCVs to Dark Templar. Orbital commands as well. He's getting ready to finish +3 infantry weapons.
Yeah, well, you know, he's beginning to catch back up. You know, these ETs, this could start to really stack over time. You get a couple worker kills, you force the SCVs to run away.
Yeah, it's giving Creator a lot of breathing room here.
Yeah, it's probably the best thing that he can ask for at this point in time. And you can see he always leads with the Stalkers. He wants to basically see that they're coming, blink away, and try to be ready. Protoss does not have the luxury to easily spot stuff on the map unless they use techniques like this.
Yeah, he would love to pick off some of these medevacs or Vikings. His starport units is really the only thing that GuMiho is wanting for right now, with a low medevac count and a relatively low Viking count. The Bioforce on the ground is absolutely huge, by the way. 30 Marauders, 32 Marines. With an army composition this Marauder heavy, suddenly the Colossus is a lot less scary because, of course, it doesn't have that bonus damage against these units the same way it does against Marines. And I wouldn't be surprised if GuMiho just started to posture himself to try and sandwich the army of Creator.
Well, it seems like that's what he's been trying to set up for this whole time. I think Creator's shown so much patience in that he's not overextending. He has a very good split. You know, some worse players, they'll have, like, you know, all the Colossus on one side or something like that. He really has a pretty good setup.
It's one thing Creator's always been very good at, is spreading his army out in a very well-balanced way. And GuMiho... Oh, the shield battery!
Oh my god!
The overcharged shield battery saves the Nexus! I saw those two Marauders stimming up. I thought for sure it was going down, but the battery able to recharge it almost completely in shields. Now GuMiho is going to focus instead at this fourth base, trying to get some damage done there. That will buy him the time to come back in on that Nexus again. Is he still not going to get it? Oh, he's sacrificing a lot of bio to do it, though. Not the best trades here for GuMiho. Perhaps tunnel visioning a little bit on that Nexus, and Creator might actually be able to clean up this army.
Yeah, he is going to be remaking this. The Viking in that one shot, he does pick up the beautifully done. Now,
that exchange went so well for Creator.
Well, it's so funny. It's like you have these moments where you're like, no, I know this exactly. Like, something in the back of my army is going to shoot the Nexus while everything else is doing damage in the front. And then he goes back and you just see the shields go right back up, and it's like, oh my god.
The question is, can Creator really make something happen after that big win? And he does still have this Colossus count. There are no Vikings on the field at all for GuMiho. So although the army supplies are very even, and usually that's quite good for Terran, should they have a very, you know, well upgraded army. In this case, I'm liking it for Protoss a lot. I mean, these three Colossus are going to be so hard to contest, and you know, Creator just camping this production right now. It almost feels a little bit like a PvZ trying to intercept the reinforcements. And the SCVs are getting pull tasteless.
Yeah, this is kind of do or die right now. Did Creator overextend? Did he throw his advantage away? It feels like he did. GG, GuMiho takes that game. And, man.
Kind of a wild one, honestly.
Yeah, kind of a crazy one.
I felt like GuMiho had a very sizable advantage pretty much all throughout the mid-game, and then maybe a little bit over-ambitious, tunnel visioning a tiny bit on that Nexus.
Well, you know, it did seem like GuMiho was continuing to advance and kind of set up this pin. It was a complex position. There were like three bases that were all under threat, and GuMiho was cycling very nicely through that. It did seem like GuMiho overextended when he didn't get that Nexus, but the complexity of the Protoss' army is always reset in those moments. Less Immortals, less Colossus, probably a bunch of Stalkers left over. And when they come back across the map, they face a Terran army that is of equal complexity, even if it's of smaller size from the original fight. The right number of Marauders, the right number of medevacs, whatever else you need to kind of engage with that. And I think that's exactly what happened. Now we go to the map with the coolest name. Dragon Scales. What part of the dragon? The scales.
This is potentially the final match.
The scales of the dragon. Is it a big dragon? Those must be huge scales. This map's going to be awesome. All right. GuMiho versus Creator Game 2. Fingers crossed Creator can give us a Game 3. Otherwise, it's going to be GuMiho moving on into the round of 8, and Creator will once again fall, not winning another GSL.
I believe Creator actually asked for a few minutes to collect himself here from the admin team, as he's yet to join the lobby in, and you can kind of see him just really deep in his thoughts, talking to himself a little bit, trying to consider exactly what he should do, because these are 2 upcoming must-win maps for Creator. If GuMiho wins either here on Dragon Scales or on Babylon, he is advancing to the round of 8. Creator, he's fighting for his tournament life here in Code S, and after, not having the best performance in previous years, despite rising in potential and rising in skill steadily over his career, he would really love to mount a comeback here in Season 2 of Code S 2023. Will they be able to do it here against GuMiho? He's joined the lobby. I think we're getting ready to count down.
It sounded like you called it Blabby. That's what happens when we cast on
Babylon, Babylon.
So the blah blah Babylon. Yeah. Oh no, we're gonna go on camera.
Oh, I think maybe one more moment here for Creator.
He's gonna take 1 minute break. Now here's a question: Dragon Scales the map. Do dragons shed like snakes?
Oh, that's a very good question. Actually, I've never thought about whether they shed. That'd be unsightly. They've got those wings too, the scales on them.
Snake sheds. Do all lizards shed?
I had I think they're called leopard geckos when I was a kid. We had some leopard geckos, and those definitely shed. Would help them with the shedding sometimes. I always feel bad when lizards are shedding and they have like the skin excess that's still in their head and it's like blocking their vision a little bit. It's like that has to be uncomfortable. But you don't have like the appendages to actually go and remove this excess skin from like your eyes.
Just imagine having something on your face, you can't get it off. You're just like, oh. Yeah, it's better being a human.
It is better being a human. Although if we lose our leg, it will not grow back. That's one thing that we have a downside of.
That's why the reptilians have it the best of all. The reptile humans.
Going with a 180 on that one.
They can grow their legs back and remove their shedding skin from their faces. All right, well, this minute is up. This countdown has started. Best of luck to Creator, because right now GuMiho is on a tear after fighting back and getting out of the losers match. And he hasn't lost yet. We'll see if Creator can come back now.
2023 GSL Season 2. GuMiho. Club NV, Creator.
So many fans here supporting Creator.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to.
Would love to see this one go to a Game 3.
Yeah, I mean, I would welcome that. Been a longer night than normal, actually. We've got some real good dramatic games out of players that we had. I kind of knew this group was going to be good, but I got to say I'm really happy with the games inside the best of threes that we had. They were a lot of really interesting, different games.
Yeah, we had interesting builds, especially Dark versus Special. I loved seeing his take on how TVZ should be played, because of course that was the only TVZ he had to prepare for in this group. It was his first match, so he came very well prepared with some cool strats, and Creator versus GuMiho as well, and Dark versus Creator, both going the distance, 2-1, each of them.
And it's a weird GSL this season and the season before, in that there's so many Terrans, right?
Mm-hmm.
So instead of TVZ being one of the big matchups, and then ZVZ with that, we've had like really good Zergs in Korea, but we don't have like a ton of them, right? But yeah, a lot of times it's like, okay, well, who's the best ZVZ? Or a lot of times that's going to be pivotal. Right now, it's who's the best TVTer, as long as you can hang against a Zerg.
Yeah, it does feel that way. I think actually this Code S in the round of 16, we might only have had, what, 3 Zergs? I don't think we had a Zerg on day 1 in Group A. I think it was two Terrans and 2 Protoss, if I'm not mistaken. Or no, it was Maru, Bunny, TY, and Classic. So yeah, it's
one
really
Protoss, 3 Terrans, yeah.
That's been really Terran heavy.
And this happens in Star Leagues from time to time, where it's like, well, if you kind of look at the dominant race, or they're high in numbers, this matchup becomes pivotal a lot of times.
But it is interesting when the end result of that is that we might have had the only PvP of the entire GSL, which would have been, you know, Hero versus Nightmare. We had 2 series of that. We don't know if we're going to get another PvP.
Yeah.
And we might not even have a ZVZ. It might just be TVT as the only mirror matchup.
Yeah, it's, you know, Terran Civil War with a couple of aliens in there. So
expansion done now here for Creator is the Reaper's just going to sacrifice itself to get the full scouting information. It saw the Twilight Council, and GuMiho should have a very good idea of, you know, what Creator is gunning for. It's actually, well, he went for 2 Reapers. Huh. I thought for a second, I was like, wait, did I just like completely blunder that? Like, did the Reaper get out of there alive and like also heal?
He shot himself over.
Yeah. These parkour Reapers, man.
Yeah.
If only the Cybernetics core was a little bit bigger, this wouldn't happen to
I know.
It's just slightly smaller than the gateway.
If the Cybernetics core was a little bit taller, those little spikes on the side, if they just kind of pointed out a little bit more, he could impale himself on that.
Medevac flies over it, just like clips it, just crashes it in the ground.
It's like you get your drone stuck in a tree. It's.
All right, RoboBay also coming, or Robotics Facility, excuse me, coming down here for Creator as well as 2 gateways. So this is looking like, you know, the most standard PBTs that we pretty much get, which is going to be 3-gate Robo into a 3rd base. GuMiho back at his home, doing pretty much the same thing. It was a little bit odd that he went for 2 Reapers, but you know, Widowmine's Marines might have a drop coming down, might not. GuMiho oftentimes content to just macro at home and build up a base. A lot of these Terran players, especially in the GSL and in the European circuits, they feel kind of this pressure to go do harassment all the time, in particular against TVP. And
yeah.
I think that oftentimes you really don't need to, depending on what the Protoss player is doing. If you just build a highly upgraded bio ball and you micro it well, like at the pro level, you can really go toe for toe. And GuMiho is one of those guys that, you know, we saw him open with 2 Marauders the previous game.
Yeah.
Go for Widowmines as well. You know, he didn't go for the Widowmine drop until like the mid game, basically.
Well, this happens sometimes where you get pros, or you know, even lower level players. It can happen to anybody, but they're too caught up in the same routine over and over and over again. And you know, they might be doing it without knowing why. This time around, he's got a Widowmine drop, but he's not just going right in like I think a lot of other players would.
Yeah, and there really isn't anything Creator is going to be able to make that can deal with that, right? GuMiho, it's up to him how long he wants to have that. Medevac right there is this funny little creature.
This is
I get so easily distracted by these things. Like this little, I don't even know what kind of animal it's supposed to be.
There's a Tastalope on one of these maps and an Artosalope on one of them.
I don't know which map that is. I want to see it.
It was, I know the map when I cast it, but I always forget the name. But there.
The names are tough.
But there's not enough of them there. We need to make them breed so they can make more Talopes or whatever they're called. By the way, nice.
Oh, be careful.
Oh,
be careful. That barely got out of range before it could fire. I don't think that was.
What am I looking at?
See, GuMiho
It
trying
like
to
shoots
buy
itself in the head. It's like I can't get anything.
GuMiho just trying to change his targeting so that Creator wouldn't be able to see it.
Yeah.
Get as much mining time lost as possible.
Back at home, Terran is going to be ready for a push pretty soon.
It does look that way. A lot of Marines. Siege tank production is continuing here. Relatively late engineering bay. No 3rd command center in sight, so there is the potential that GuMiho just decides to go for it. Oh no. He's going to send this one. Oh, the feedback! I didn't even know Templar were on this map.
Snapped.
Feedback's one of my favorite abilities.
It's cool. It's rewarding when you get it off, too.
I know it's also one of those abilities that's like the most frustrating for your opponents if you get it off.
Yeah.
There are very high and very low emotional moments for both players when good feedbacks happen.
Yeah. You get it and you just don't kill the medevac. You're like, oh, it's empty. But this push is going to happen. It's a very early push, but, you know, to what State was saying, it's like, yeah, you don't have to just harass forever. You could actually just have a modest setup. And some of these Protosses are so used to just defending kind of whatever comes their way harass-wise that they're not actually ready for a full-on committed attack.
Yeah, Creator actually almost sniped that medevac. Would have been a fantastic catch. Instead, just going to have to make do with getting a lot of damage on it. And one thing to keep in mind during this next engagement is the Raven locking down the Warp Prison with the Templar in it, because that could become a huge issue for these players. You can see Creator, he's trying to set up to get a feedback. Well, if he feedbacks the Raven, it could be huge, but barely out of range. I feel like unless Creator is able to get some storms to connect, he's going to have a hard time breaking this position. And it's just so difficult with a Raven. You can see him kind of hedging his bets. He now only has 2 Templar right now when this Warp Prism drops 2 more on the ground.
Oh, kind of a bungled storm. That one pretty good, though.
Yeah, nice connection on that one. Keep in mind, only 2 medevacs here, so the healing is relatively thin.
Yeah, it's not great, but also the action isn't that packed right now. And so, you know, he can kind of take his time and heal this back up. 2 more Templars pocketed. Medevacs are empty, by the way.
+1 infantry weapons. Sorry.
But no, you're fine. I was just with energy. I said empty. People could think I'm talking about what's inside of them. But
I actually thought that's what you were talking about. I'm like, of course they're
you're
empty.
like,
Tasteless. He's pushing.
You're such a bad caster. You're like, no, Tasteless. They're full of Marines, and he's going to drop them any second.
Oh, I think GuMiho just might have attacked his own siege tank there with those Marauders. A little bit of a hiccup. That one moves all the way back. Guess it's the bad siege tank.
Now, you know, you can kind of take your time in this push. As long as you bait out those storms and they don't get much damage, you can maybe eventually get in range of the Nexus itself. For the probes, like we're seeing here.
Yeah, it is a perilous position for Protoss, and also it's so awkward. I mean, you don't really have the range units besides maybe the Immortal that can deal with this effectively. Just 1 adept does pick off 2 SCVs on the other side of the map, and okay, I guess Creator's saying it's time to go. Zealots are charging in, but then he backs off again. Lockdown on the Warp Prism takes so much of the momentum away from this force. I mean, storms are so critical. Now the lockdown expiring. Another one's going to come in, but not before 1 Templar drops at least. And a really good storm, Tasteless, cleans up a ton of Marines. And Creator's actually going to breach this position.
Yeah, I don't think he could actually stay here. Yeah, that's it. That's it. So he's been beaten down pretty badly. Now, is the counter push going to be an overextension? Wow. We've seen this, you know, more than once. A really good storm. The Terran bounces right off that.
There's only 1 medevac on the field. Almost all of them got picked off by the Blink Stalkers there during that engagement. So big win right now for Creator. And yeah, he's not going to overextend. Opting to go for a 4th Nexus or Robotics Bay. Starting up his Forge upgrades now. 6 Ghosts on the field, by the way, for GuMiho.
Yeah. That's going to be pretty important, but you know what we need to see next here from Creator is the next step in the splash damage. We could see that he's getting the Colossi tech here, which is going to be needed, but it's still pretty far away.
Yeah, Forge upgrade's also very slow. He's going to have to chrono boost those to try and catch up.
I'm glad you pointed that out as well. That can really add up when it comes to just, you know, the 2 armies clashing against each other in the middle of the map.
I mean, yeah, those upgrades, they're relatively cheap. They're cheaper for Protoss than the other races, I think, even. But it's still such an investment that if you want to hold off a push like that, I mean, imagine Creator, if he had invested into a Forge and an upgrade that hadn't completed by the time the push comes out on the map, and he's also trying to get Templar out.
Yeah.
And get Storm. It's just such... You're spread too thin, so the sacrifice of being able to tech up the Storm and also secure that 3rd base against the push is to delay the Forges, but that leads to a window where GuMiho now might be able to find some damage because this Ghost count is very high. Starport units refreshed. He has 3 medevacs now, so that should be at least some healing.
Okay,
nice storms,
the storms are pretty nuts, man. Oh my God. Is it going to be enough? There's not a lot of medevacs here, so every bit of damage, you know, it does stack up. And it feels like GuMiho is trying to force this, and it's just not going to happen, man.
Yeah, those storms were just so money.
Wait.
I mean, big connections with a ton of them.
Like no probes mining in the main there.
Yeah, he had to pull them away, I think, maybe from another Widow Mine or something to that effect.
Yeah, I think the Observer missed something there, but it looked a lot more like a ghost town in that main.
Yeah, 4th Command Center now coming down for GuMiho, flying to that 4th base. Disruptors, the first tech coming out of the Robos for Creator, and actually sticking with him. I was wondering whether this would be, you know, 2 Disruptors into something more sustainable like Colossus, but instead, just going to really heavily lean into Disruptors. Of course, Ghosts being unable to stim are easily the juiciest targets for this unit, so that's something that GuMiho has to watch out for should he decide to play a very Ghost-heavy composition. See Storms now, gets to see the full Protoss army almost. And yeah, I think it was a Widow Mine. I think GuMiho's been running these around, like this one here at the 3rd base.
Okay, another scan. And, you know, I got to say this is just a better game in general here for Creator. One thing that just is it's undeniable about Terran is it's easy to remake your comp, right? Where a lot of what Protoss needs is like coming out of the Robo, and there's so many different units that you can make there, and you don't have tons of robotics. So we got to make sure for Creator's sake, if we're going to get a game 3, that he's keeping a balanced set of technical units surviving in each fight.
Yeah, as it is right now, it's mostly just going to be on those disruptors. And I want to see the unit composition. Oh, nice. The tab is up. Yeah, 18 Stalkers, 6 Disruptors, and 4 Immortals, I believe, is the main units here for Creator, of course, in addition to those High Templar. And Blink Stalker Disruptor, if you're quick with it, can be very hard to breach or pounce on this as GuMiho. I mean, especially once you get up to a count like 6 or 8 Disruptors, because then you can just kind of stagger the shots and you never really run out of cooldown, right? Oh, what a big hit.
Yeah, nice little shot there. And we're not done yet. He does get that Widow Mine here, too. He's going to try to hit these 2 areas. 6 o'clock looks very much so undefended.
Yeah, reinforcements are coming in right now from the 3rd base. And once again, the shield battery trying to regenerate the Nexus, but not like the previous game, unable to actually keep those shields up. But GuMiho's not looking. So many units get taken out. Creator with some really big hits by these Disruptors, and a nice storm, too. I mean, the AoE damage coming out of Creator right now has been so on point.
Yeah, it's been extremely good. Even supplies here, and I think naturally we may just see Creator just chase this all the way up to the expansion, maybe even at the Triangle base.
Yeah, he might. I mean, this is a very powerful army, and that's a lot of starport units getting taken out, and I feel like GuMiho might be in a little bit of trouble right now. The army supply lead finally going in Creator's favor, and again, with 6 Disruptors, there's a lot of potency to this army. Plus, GuMiho, he loves his Marauders. Creator, he has 4 Immortals. That's such a great addition against a player like GuMiho, who generally plays Marauder heavy when he plays MM. This is a difficult army to beat for GuMiho. I don't know if he can do it. He's going to have to evacuate this base.
Yeah, I mean, I think Creator's patience might have just paid off here. I think he's at the point where he's like, can you actually deal with what I've got now?
GuMiho's trying to cause some problems on the other side of the map, and Liberators plus Widow Mines might be able enough to buy time, but Creator's just going to blink on top of it and then use Disruptors to shoo the bio away from the Stalkers. Colossus and a Disruptor here.
I think we're going to go to game 3 here.
I think so. It's looking really good right now for Creator. I feel like there's a large window where he can get something done.
Okay, nice shots. Oh! Oof. Good dodge, good dodge.
And more Disruptor shots coming in on the right side with a big connection. His 3 Marauders and a handful of Marines, too. This is a tough position to breach because of that Liberator and the Planetary morphing in, but Creator's just going to push on it anyway.
All right, another attack in over here, but it just seems like there's such little right now for GuMiho.
Yeah, there just isn't enough army
just
supply.
Kind of flattens whatever he's got. Wow. I think that's going to be GG here. This Planetary is going to fall, and I think we are going to find ourselves in yet another game.
What a game played here by Creator. I mean, from the defense of the Triangle third against that Siege Tank push, to navigating his army composition with Disruptors like this, and translating it into a win here against GuMiho. Very well played. We're going to go to another game 3.
I love it. We're really getting, just some dramatic, high-level, very cool games out of these guys. And so, I mean, it's anybody's call, man. The rematch has been just as close as the first match.
Absolutely, and very interesting games, too. I love what we're seeing out of both of these players right now. I don't know who's going to take it here. I don't even know who to give the edge coming into a map number 3. I feel like Creator, he's making some really good adjustments to GuMiho's styles.
I agree.
He's been evolving over the course of the first best of 3 and now the second best of 3.
Yep.
And GuMiho, he keeps mixing it up with his openings here as Terran, but it feels like he might be getting solved a little bit here by Creator.
Well, Creator stayed patient and is kind of letting GuMiho, try to test the waters, and he just stays firm, stays in control, and then when it's time, he moves, right back out and does that killing blow. So maybe a different idea as far as gameplay goes here from GuMiho. Let's find out.
2023 GSL Season 2. GuMiho. Club NV, Creator.
Okay, this is it. This is the last game of the evening. It's so hard to say who's going to advance. It does seem like Creator is adapting. It's a different series, though. I mean, the first best of 3 was really this, like, kind of almost kind of like a wacky experimental series, you know?
Yeah, especially with that late game PVT.
Yeah, and then even like, you know, the base trade at the end, it's like, this is just a kind of an odd set, but it seems like this best of 3 dips back into normality, right? Kind of what most of their games probably look like, them kind of doing what they're used to.
Yeah, you got to wonder what the builds openings are going to be. And GuMiho's already mixing it up quite a bit, by the way, with this second supply depot. That means he's not going to be going for a very fast second command center.
Yeah.
He's going to be going for factory and starport play into an expand, most likely. And there are a lot of different flavors of early aggression that this could be coming out of GuMiho. And he doesn't need to hide the factory either, because it's a no-brainer that this is going to be thrown down. So the question that I have now is, you know, what specifically is GuMiho going to choose to come with out of these factories, out of this starport? And how is Creator going to try to prepare his defense? Because he's been playing, you know, Blinkstalker Robo with 3 gateways pretty much all night. Do you go back into Phoenix in this situation here against Terran? Because you know they're playing higher tech units?
I mean, you know, it's actually not a bad idea when you mention it. But I think also just going for Stalkers could be appropriate as well. Or maybe we have even like another idea here from GuMiho with something he wants to try and test out.
It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, GuMiho, much like Special, has a very wide range of builds. Not afraid to go mech when the situation calls for it. Not afraid to come out with, you know, some really wacky openers, even if they don't actually manifest into something. Like, I mean, we saw earlier the 2 Marauder opener where they just kind of sit at the natural and didn't do anything.
It was a funny opener, man.
It just looks odd.
It just goes to show you that you can go for Marauders and not be like, ha, like try to use them right away. Like, here they are. That's not what I normally make. Instead, it's like, no, these are fine units. We'll get the concussive shells later. This allows me to distribute my income, or my spending, rather, a little bit differently.
Yeah, and it will be a Twilight Council here for Creator, so no Phoenixes coming out. I really thought in this series, if we were going to see Phoenixes from Creator, would be in a situation like this one, going up against a factory before command center. But you know, the three gate blink, it has been working for him so far.
So you know, with Creator, it's kind of him just doing what he thinks is his best build. There's nothing wrong with doing the same build over and over again, by the way, in some of these situations, especially when you've played a lot of games. It's like, well, I just kind of execute this better than whatever you're doing. And that's one way to do it, you know.
Especially an opening like this one, which is, you know, not specialized at all, really. It's kind of like the Swiss Army knife.
Oh, he didn't do it.
Builds. He
tried to parkour.
I don't think you can from that position.
Well,
maybe
there's
I'm
potted
wrong.
plants on the inside
Yeah,
the main there. There's potted plants there. They're growing.
The Reaper's too polite. He doesn't want to mess those plants up,
land in
man.
that pile of leaves there. So he doesn't get in. Too bad.
Can't fault him for trying, as Creator now gunning to set up that third base. And GuMiho, it seems like he wasn't really going to, I mean, he's not really opting to go for any kind of heavy pressure with this one, at least not any, you know, harassment-based opening, which is generally what I expect to see from Terran when they do this kind of, you know, fast factory play, 2 gas before expansion. Instead, it seems like it might be a really strong push coming out. Yeah, the siege tank, 2 siege tanks, in fact. Oh, is that the Cyclone in the... Oh, it's 2 siege tanks out already. And there's a Liberator coming out on the field. SCVs are being pulled.
And a War Prism's being made, which means that Protoss might be wanting to attack here soon. And dude, oh my god, okay, he sees the SCVs, he knows. That is the biggest tell as to what's going to happen.
This is going to be a very scary position to break here for Creator. And keep in mind also the Robo and this Gateway are both on the low ground of this natural, so both should be shelled by these siege tanks. Shield batteries are going down.
So he gets the Warp Prism out. He can use that for micro purposes here.
Oh, he's
my
gonna
God.
blink in. He's gonna blink in. He
Wait,
blinks on top of one of the siege
does that
tanks.
work?
He gets the medevac.
Oh, no. That's not it.
Oh, no.
I think that's like, that was impulsive, and I think that just cost him the game. He might have lost anyways. This pylon's going to be destroyed. Oh, I'm sorry, there's actually 3 pylons here. This robo's going to be destroyed. I end up in the same spot, and so the Immortal can't come out. He stayed back with some of the tanks, knowing the Stalkers might still be out there. Well, you can spot it now.
And the Liberator makes this position so much harder to break. And keep in mind right now, Creator, he's reset down to 2 gateways with Blink. He's scrambling to make 3 more, but even despite the fact that his natural expansion is under siege, he just doesn't have the production. He's going to start floating minerals because he can't produce units to actually deal with this. And now suddenly this natural expansion, he can't even mine from it.
It's so funny seeing that tank chase down 3 injured Stalkers too. It's like such a role reversal.
Yeah.
I gotta say, Creator's doing a great job keeping these Stalkers in between, but he hasn't protected, what mattered the most. And so there's gonna be a counterattack inbound. The 3 Stalkers that were damaged with 4 Stalkers in a War Prism, and of course, whatever Stalkers he could muster through that War Prism back at home, but off an extremely dysfunctional economy, bunkers being made. GuMiho knows all he has to do is tie that final knot.
Oh, and
he's won this.
Probes going out into the natural expansion of Creator too. All of them instantly die as his worker count gets reset. And I feel like we're going to see another Terran advancing to the round of 8 tasteless. This looks so hard to break. These probes again coming down into the natural. I'm not sure what's going on here. Dark Shrine finishes up, so some DTs are going to be warped in. There should be detection, yeah. Missile turrets are under construction right now for GuMiho in the natural and the main base.
He's going to pull away, send his SCVs over to the ramp, and just cover his main that way. He should be able to get a blink in here. He does.
Yeah, another siege tank is done, though, and this force on GuMiho's side of the map gets wiped out, and you can see the frustration on Creator's face as GuMiho is going to be the next player to advance to the round of 8.
That's it, man. It's
a heartbreaker for Creator.
Well, I don't know if he should have blinked in that soon. Or if he did, he snipes a tank, maybe he tries to get out sooner. I don't know. I mean, he was able to intercept the attacks coming from the side, but at the same time, when you do the same build like this, your opponent has the opportunity to try to do their own build that comes in and basically kills you before you really get started.
Yeah, and you can just see the power of GuMiho mixing it up and going for the double gas before expansion here as this push hit so much faster than basically any other push. As all these Stalkers get cleaned up here, and even the repair on the siege tank, that's going to be a GG is called. GuMiho advances to the round of 8.
Wow. Well, long live Terran. This is the year for the humans.
Humans rise up.
Humans rise up. Well, that's going to be that. GuMiho advances. I think, it was a great series that we had there from Creator, but GuMiho kind of a little bit more flexible, a little bit more range there. More able in a back and forth in 6 games between these two, able to bob, able to weave, able to adapt, and therefore able to go on to the round of 8 of GSL. We're going to go to an interview now with GuMiho and see how he's feeling. This will be translated by Andy. Andy is back in the studio. And we'll let you guys take it from there.
Well, massive congratulations to you, GuMiho. Thank you. It was not an easy match. It went to a full best-of-3 series. And in the end, you were able to put the nail in the coffin and win. So how do you feel right now? Well, today I performed really bad, and I thought I was going to lose. But in the end, I didn't want to go for the all-in play, but I had to resort to the play, and then luckily it worked out well. So in the last game, the reason why you couldn't perform better is because of the disruptors, is it? And sometimes my brain kind of stops working. I think it was a lot worse today. I had the advantage, but my micro wasn't at the at the high level to fulfill the play. You had some crisis, but now you move on to the round of 8, to second consecutive time now. And at the time, you know, we have 5 Terrans in the round of 8, but now, and you're the only one who couldn't join the round of 4 last season. That's right. But now you have defeated Maru, you've defeated Cure, and it feels like you should be aiming for a higher round now. I do kind of want to reveal my goals and determination today, but my performance wasn't at the right level today. And even for the TVT, it wasn't really at the satisfactory level, but I'm always trying to upgrade from my plays. And there's so much to learn from playing against Maru. And I'm always trying to make improvements. But for this season, my goal is to defeat Maru and win. So right now, is your form kind of getting there? I thought I was, but then I think it feels like it's reverted to the original state. Well, it's maybe because of the weather. You're feeling kind of like you're under the weather, you know. Okay, then anything else you want to say to the fans? Well, there's a lot of time until my next round of 8 match, so I'll try to prepare well and try to show a better performance back during that. Well, once again, congratulations, GuMiho, on making it to round of 8.
Thank you, Andy. All right. Well, you know, more Terrans.
Yeah.
More Terrans. That's what I want.
A lot of Terrans. We got our first Zerg, though. Dark advanced first place in this group with victories over Special and Creator, both going the distance 2-1. And then GuMiho able to pull the rabbit out of the hat in the final match against Creator. Sends him as well to the round of 8. And what an ambitious goal. He wants to take down Maru.
Yeah. I mean, you got to respect it, man. You take down Maru, you can take down anybody.
Especially in a TVT meta.
Especially where the humans are doing the best right now. That being said, we do have some other races making it through. We're going to get some representation there in the round of 8 and on. But yeah,
we got Hero and Dark already, and then this Thursday, Group D, Kira, Estrella, Young, and Solar. We might have a foreigner make it to the round of 8. Estrella is back in Korea. He's competing in GSL. He's qualified for Code S. And Solar making his return as well. So
yeah, good to have Solar back. Kira looked to be in very good condition before. Ryung, he's strong. I think he's maybe the weakest in the group, but upsets do occur.
Yeah, I could see Ryung coming through with a surprising result and making it to the round of 8.
Could happen.
Yeah, I think Kira and Solar are my favorites in this one, just because I feel like Estrella, his style, you know, a little bit more greedy, might be a bit of a mismatch in a group with both Kira and Solar, who are just absolute killers. Kira always been, even when the meta wasn't as good for Terran, Kira's always been a TVP sniper, it felt like. Always one of the scariest players to go up against is Protoss, and Solar as well is just so deadly with his timing attacks. But it should be a very fun group. I mean, all of the groups up until this point have been so exciting, especially here today. Group C, I mean, every single match, with the exception of one, went the distance.
It was
crazy.
It
was so evenly matched.
We had one quick best of 3, and then everything else was epic. Yeah. And I think there's going to be a lot more of that there in Group D. And again, we're going to be powering through this this GSL. So be sure to join us. It's every Tuesday and every Thursday, 6:30 p.m. KST. You can buy the tickets for Thursday. They should still be up now. We have not sold out our tickets here in the audience, so there's still time if you want to come down and check it out. And if you want to buy tickets for next week, that goes live on Monday. There it is. They beat me to it, or I beat them to it.
On Friday, actually, so you can buy them as soon as the end of this week.
Yeah.
And it's really good. It's 8,000 Korean won, just over $6 US. It's a fantastic deal. Way better than a movie.
Way better than a
so much better than a movie. Only
with
$6.
Actors. What about pro gamers? That's all the time we have, guys. We love you. We'll see you on Thursday. Bye-bye.